if you work with dogs or if you're known in your circle as the dog person, you probably have experienced people reaching out to you at some point, and sometimes this happens pretty frequently, where somebody reaches out to you and they ask you if you're interested in a particular dog that somebody's trying to get rid of, right? Somebody's trying to rehome, or somebody found a dog on the street. And because you are the dog person in your circle, because you are the dog trainer, or you're good with dogs generally, the first person to think about is you. And sometimes this works out, but a lot of times it doesn't work out. So let's go a little bit into that. Why do people do that? Well, the reason people do that is because they can't possibly think, um, Will, the person who works with dogs all the time, um, probably doesn't want a dog. And I'm not saying anything bad about this, by the way. Okay, so the people that do reach out to you like this, they're not trying to be bad people. They're not trying to harass you. They're not doing any of that. But in their mind, I imagine they probably feel like you only get offers like this every once in a while. What they don't realize is that a lot of times you get these offers all the time. And again, I'm not saying anything bad about this. So if you're listening to this and you reached out to me recently about a dog, this episode is not about you. I promise you that. It's not about you. I'm not saying anything bad about you. It's just an interesting thing because in the past probably 7 days, I've gotten like three different offers, right? Three different people reached out to me telling me that there is this one dog that, because of a certain set of circumstances, either this dog is already too aggressive, that the owners just can't do anything about it. And so they call me and they go, this dog is, it's biting people. It's already has a bite history. Do you want this dog? And then literally 2 days later, I get another call very similar to that, right? Very similar to the last one, which is this one dog is becoming too difficult for the owners. The dog is, or a lot of times the dog's already like 6, 7 years old, and it's become too much for the owners to handle. Would you be interested in this dog, or do you know somebody that would be interested in this dog? Sometimes this happens so frequently that you get desensitized. I get desensitized to it. I'm just to a point where I'm just going, genuinely, I'll keep an eye out for, right? But if I made an announcement to my circle of friends every time, which is frequently, right? Every time somebody reached out to me about an aggressive bully breed, an aggressive German Shepherd, an aggressive Malinois, or or a dog that somebody doesn't want anymore. If I made an announcement to the people I know, every time I got one of these offers, every time somebody reached out to me about that, it would be constant. Now, you guys probably get this too. I'm imagining I'm not the only one that gets these messages, these calls. But you're known as the dog guy, as the dog person, so people naturally reach out to you. I had this one guy, okay, this guy used to be friends with years ago. He he's not a dog trainer. He's not a dog person. Just a regular guy. He was my neighbor and a friend years ago. I mean, this is probably like over 10 years ago, and I hadn't seen him for like 2 years. 2 years had gone by since the last time I saw him, and he one day just calls me out of the blue, and I'm like, oh, what's up? So we're talking for very briefly. He's just basically small talk. Hey, how you doing? How you been? Good. You? Good. Okay. And then he goes, I'm on my way to your place right now. I'm bringing this dog. that belonged to, I believe it belonged to his girlfriend or a friend of his. And he's calling me because he's telling me he is on his way. He's driving already to my place and he's got this dog. And I'm telling him, I'm like, hold on, dude. I'm like, I don't want that dog. He was kind of put off by it. He was like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't want that dog. I'm just not interested. Take him to a shelter or something because I can't do anything with that dog. I'm already full. I got plenty of dogs that are my own. I don't have room for another dog. And so I could tell by the pauses, by the change in his tone of voice, all of that. I could tell he just was not expecting that. He was expecting me to say, "Yeah, bring him over, drop him off, and then we'll find him a place." And I'm not a shelter. I'm not a dog disposal place, right? And this is the thing, because I work with dogs all the time, and because I see and I hear about this frequently enough, I get desensitized to it. Now, I do have a special place in my heart for rescues. Okay, I do help rescue organizations. I have volunteered a lot. I mean, lots of hours. I'm talking months of foster and training of dogs that belong to rescues. I've worked with rescue organizations in the past, so it's something that I do have a connection to it. I do like to help out, and I do like to reach out, and I do like to get involved in that. But I myself, I don't have, unless I'm volunteering to foster a dog, it is very unlikely, which I've done, but it's very unlikely that I'm going to say yes, bring your dog over if you're trying to get rid of that dog, right? If you got this dog that you found on the side of the road, it is very unlikely I'm going to want him. And the thing is, if you're listening and you get these phone calls or these messages, you probably notice that there is a theme, right? The dogs that you're getting offered, the dogs that somebody's telling you, hey, somebody's asking you, hey, do you want this dog? They're always the worst case scenarios. It's usually it's rarely a dog that is, a year old, happy to be alive, and he just needs something. It's very rarely that. Sometimes it is, but a lot of times it's not that type of dog. It's usually a dog nobody wants. It's usually a dog that probably nobody in their right mind would want anyways. So what people go is they go, well, you're a trainer, so you will probably be great for this dog that nobody wants because it's bit so many people. It's 7 years old. It's been growling and snapping at people for several years. Nobody can handle him, but because you're a dog trainer, you'd be great for him. Yes, but I don't want him. I don't want that dog. So people do think that, and it's not with malice. They're not trying to harass you. They're not trying to be annoying. I completely understand that. So don't take this as a gripe episode. It just happened frequently enough in the past week. I got like three different people reaching out to me through various formats. Right, I've got somebody reaching out to me through a phone call. Um, I got a person reaching out to me via my contact form. A person reaching out to me via message. So it just happened in such a short period of time, and then I realized this actually happens a lot more often. It happens a lot more often than I care to think about. And if I say yes to every single dog that was offered to me like this, I'd have my own sanctuary. I have my own shelter, and that's just not where my heart is. Right? I'm just not. It's just not what I do. I'm not a rescue guy. I'll definitely volunteer. Okay, I've done that. I'll help out I'll do that. I'll stick my hand in there. But I myself, I'm just not going to. And I'm willing to bet that the majority of you guys listening probably are not like that. Now there are some people that do love that, right? They do want to help out. They're like, yes, bring me the dog, and I'll rehab them and I'll try to find them a good home. Good luck with that. But they'll do that. They get into that, and I mean, good for them. And I'm glad we have people like that, because there's definitely a need for people like that. It's just a lot of times it's not most people. So it is something that does happen. It's probably happened to you. And if you, by the way, and I've done it too. Okay, sometimes, I'll have a client that they inherited their relatives' dogs, and now they're like, we really can't handle this extra dog. Would you know anybody? Now I will assess. I will do a temperament test on the dog, and if I go, this dog would be such a perfect fit for most people, I'll definitely pass the word. But if somebody reaches out to me with a dog that is dangerous, I'm not gonna reach out to anybody. I'm just not going to, because one, I already know. Okay, the people that I know they're not on the market for a behavior case. They're not on the market. They're not looking for a dog like that. Um, but even if I did, even if I were to go, hey, I'm gonna go down my list. I'm gonna go, John, do you want this? This 5-year-old pit bull that has a bite history? No? Okay, I'm gonna call Jessica. Hey, Jessica, do you know somebody who wants this 5-year-old pit bull that's already bit 5 people? No? Okay, I'm gonna call Steve. And I'm not gonna go down the line, or I'm not gonna do that. I have my own life. I have my own job. I've got clients that I can talk to about many different things about their dogs. So doing this is just it would be so unreasonable, unless of course it's something I did as a you know as a volunteer thing. If it's something I did because maybe I'm running a rescue organization, right? If I'm running a shelter, if I'm part of a shelter, then yes, maybe I'll do that. But very likely I won't do that, right? The times that I've done it is I'll reach out to breed specific rescues. So sometimes somebody will go, I have this German Shepherd. What do you think? Again, then they'll give me the resume, right? The list. And they're like, it's bit this many people, this many people, it's bit this many dogs, this many dogs. All the issues that makes this dog so undesirable. Then what I'll do is I'll contact a handful of rescues. I'll be like, hey, there's this dog, can't find a home. They've been trying to rehome him, they can't. Is this, I'll do like a German Shepherd rescue, right? And which happens to be one of my clients who runs a German Shepherd rescue. And I know other people that run breed specific rescues. So I'll reach out to them and they'll even ask me, tell me a little bit about the dog. Well, what I was told is that the dog might have some aggression, right? There is some history. And the feedback I'll get is, well, we're just gonna put him down. we don't put those dogs out, right? Unless it's a no-kill shelter. But if you look into no-kill shelters, that is a whole nother controversy in itself. Why do you think that's a controversy? Well, it's because, yes, the good thing is these are no-kill shelters, so they're not killing the dogs. But the thing that goes into being a no-kill shelter is they do have limited space. So if they get if they get to max capacity, two things will happen. Either A, they'll stop taking in dogs, or B, they'll make room by transferring some of their dogs to another organization. Now, the other organization that they're going to transfer it to, a lot of times it's a regular shelter that will put dogs down when they get to full capacity. So if I have a no-kill shelter, and I'm making a generalization, I'm not telling you exactly this is how it works with every single rescue. that is a no-kill shelter. But if I run a no-kill shelter, and let's say for the sake of simplicity, I have 10 runs, so my max capacity is 10 dogs. And I've got 5 of these dogs are just nervous wrecks, right? They're so freaking difficult to handle. They're the type of dog that nobody's gonna want. That's why they came to me. So I got 5 of these dogs that are just dogs that just nobody wants. Maybe the other 5 dogs, maybe we could work with. Well, if I get to max capacity, I'm already at 10 dogs, and then 5 more people reach out to me. Hey, we got this dog. It's gonna get put down. It's on death row. Can we give it to you? Well, I'm gonna tell them I'm to max capacity. I don't have any room anymore. Then I have 2 options. I can go, well, no, just send them somewhere else. Well, that somewhere else could be a regular shelter where they will euthanize the dogs. Well, they will kill the dogs. And now, well, that's going to happen. The other thing I could do is I could make room. So out of my runs, right, the 10 runs that I have, 10 dogs that are taking those spots, I might go, well, shoot. For me to take 3 dogs, I have to send 3 of my dogs that I have to send them somewhere else. Well, who am I going to call? I could call another no-kill shelter, but very likely they're in the same predicament. So I might have to contact a regular shelter. Well, the regular shelter might go through cycles where they will kill dogs that have been on the adoption list for way too long. Nobody wants them, or dogs that are very, very extreme, unpredictable cases that would be a liability to put with any home. So these rescues will kill dogs at some point. So now for me to make room in my no-kill shelter, I might have to transfer 3 dogs to those shelters and hope that they don't go in that rotation. But it might happen, right? So now I get my 3 dogs. And now what happened? Well, my 5 dogs that are just behavioral wrecks that I kept, well, what are these guys doing? They're just living in a shelter. Right? So you have this whole controversy of, is a no-kill shelter, is it doing anybody any good? Is it doing the dogs any good? Now, I'm a big fan of living. Right? I like to live. If I get aggressive, I'd rather you not kill me because I'm aggressive, and I understand that. I'm not saying let's kill the dogs, but it's certainly a topic that does require much more thought and evaluation because it is so complex. Right? What do we do about these dogs? Well, if I have my no-kill shelter and I got 5 dogs that are just insane, right, cannot be handled by anybody else except for me, maybe one other staff member. We try to adopt them out, but every time they do, they freaking take a chunk out of somebody. They're dangerous dogs. Well, what do we do in the no-kill shelter? Well, they're gonna live in a run. That's their lives. Now, that's space that a dog that has more potential to be adopted cannot have. Do you see what I mean? Now, this one dog that is dangerous, that has sent people to the hospital, is taking space and food that a dog that has potential to be adopted cannot take because I have a no-kill shelter. So it is a tricky situation. This is why the whole thing with rehoming a dog is freaking tricky. Right? I would never want to be in a position where I have to rehome my dog. And it's just, I just can't imagine that, right? I will do whatever I need to do to make sure that my 4 dogs have a home with me always. Now, life happens. I understand that. But I just, knowing what I know, it would just be very difficult for me to do that. Not to mention that some of these people, there's one person that reached out to me, they have a very aggressive dog. They've been trying to rehome the dog, but when they've done it, the dog came right back the same day because the dog was so aggressive. And that's happened already like a handful of times. and this dog is already being very aggressive, and the family keeps hoping that somebody's going to adopt the dog. And I'm telling you, and I told them it is incredibly unlikely that somebody will. There's not a lot of people that are in the market for an aggressive dog. Nobody wants that. Right? And then their hope is that somebody with experience will adopt a dog. But then I go back to, yes, but all the people with experience that I know, myself included, we don't want a dog like that. Why would I want this random 6, 7 year old shepherd that's already bit a bunch of people? Why would I want that when I have my 4 dogs that their issues are nowhere near as bad as that, right? I have 4 dogs that do want to work. I have 4 dogs that like me. One of them is kind of an asshole, but even he is, he's my dog, right? I've had him since he was a puppy. I understand him. He's predictable. He's safe, right? Why would I want a dog that has a very long bite history that nobody wants when I have my 4 dogs, right? When I have a business that I'm running, when I have a family that I'm also spending time with? Why would I want that? It is incredibly unlikely that I'm going to want a dog like that, or that people that I know would want a dog like that. And this is what creates this whole chaos of, well, what do we do? Well, let's call somebody. Well, who do we call? Well, let's call all the people that we think might be okay with this dog, might know people. It's just tricky, guys. Just completely tricky. But I understand the predicament, and I understand. I'm not throwing any shade on people that do reach out to me, okay, and tell me, hey, Will, we got this dog. Would you want this dog? Would you know anybody who does? I'm gonna tell you frankly, I don't want a dog like that. I don't know anybody that does, but if I hear anything, I'll let you know. And again, the chances of that are practically zero. So then, hopefully, they find another way for this to happen where everybody wins, right? Where if the dog does go to somebody, it doesn't send that person to the hospital, because that would be tremendously just counterintuitive, and it would be just terrible for that to happen. So now to the $1 million question. How do you actually rehome a dog that is aggressive? How do you rehome a dog that has all the disadvantages on its side, that is a liability, that nobody really wants? Well, you have to realize a couple of things. One is that very likely most people are not going to want your dog. Okay. If your dog is that difficult to handle, and your dog has an aggression tendency, has a bite history, you have to realize that the people that are going to be good for your dog don't want a dog like yours. It is very unlikely. The people who will actually claim to want your dog, that is, has all the disadvantages, it's older, it's aggressive, nobody wants it. The people who will claim that they want your dog might not actually be the best match for your dog. Okay, think about this. If I were to be a terrible person and I happen to know somebody who is in the fighting dog sport industry, right? This is highly illegal, but it is still a thing. Just because it's illegal doesn't mean it doesn't happen. And I came over to you and said, hey, I'll take your dog. I don't care if it's aggressive. We'll give it a good home. And then here you're thinking, thank God somebody wants my dog. Thank God my prayers have been answered. You give the dog to a person like that. That person can easily flip your dog for a quick buck. They wash their hands. They flip your dog. They get the quick buck. And now your dog goes into a terrible place to be used, very likely as a bait dog, if this is the situation that it goes into. The other thing might be, I might actually think that I'm good with dogs. I might genuinely think I am the savior. and I'll tell you, I'll take your dog. I like German Shepherds, whatever the breed it is. I'm using that as an example, but it could be any breed. Right? I'll go, I like that breed. I don't care that it has a bite history. I can help that dog. And now I'm overconfident, maybe even slightly delusional, and my skills don't match my mouth. And so now I take your dog, overconfident. You know what could happen? What's very likely to happen is I might get bit badly, or I might get somebody else get bit badly. Okay, I've seen that happen too. There are people that think that they're invincible. There are people that think that they can handle just about any dog, and they're out there to prove that. And in some instances, this is a dangerous, a ticking time bomb. So the person that might want your dog might not be the best match for your dog. So how do you rehome a dog that is very aggressive, a dog that you know is going to be difficult because again it's got a bite history, it's very aggressive, and nobody wants it? How do you rehome that dog? I'm going to give you some tips right now that are going to be very helpful. My priority, if I were you, would be to get training. Now, hear me out, because you might be thinking, I've already tried that. It didn't help. Just hear me out. The training I'm talking about is not aggression training. Okay, don't contact the trainer going, fix the aggression. There are so many dog trainers out there. There are so many dog trainers out there with different ideas, different skills, different methodologies. But I would say 90% of dog trainers out there think they can save and help every single dog. Obviously, this is how we feel, right? We're dog trainers, we're problem solvers. But my perspective, if I was the person trying to rehome this dog, that is very difficult and very likely has already been trained. This is one of the issues that sometimes you get is you have people that want to they want to work with the dog, but they've already worked with several trainers, and the dog has not gotten any better. The aggression is still there because every trainer tells the person, I can fix the dog. Well, they don't fix the dog. Then the next trainer goes, I can fix the dog. Well, they don't fix the dog. The next trainer goes, I can fix the dog. Now that the trainers might look amazing with the dog, and they'll put the videos, on social media. The videos look very sensational, and of course it looks like, wow, this person really can handle a very aggressive dog. The moment that dog goes back home to you, that dog very quickly reverts back to the way it used to be because you're not the trainer. So what happens now is this person goes, training doesn't work. And I can't handle a dog, so I got to find a place for him. But the type of training I'm talking about is when you contact the trainer. Okay, I'm still on the topic of how to rehome the aggressive dog. Well, invest in some training. But the training, don't make it about fixing the aggression. Okay, let the trainer know, look, I think at this point, this is how he is. I don't want to kid myself into thinking that this very aggressive dog that is dangerous has already proven to us that he's dangerous. I've already given up on the idea that he's going to turn into this angel. So my suggestion is this. When you inquire about training, when you invest in the training, let the trainer know and make the focus of the training not to address the aggression, but to work on the obedience. An aggressive dog with impeccable obedience is a predictable dog. Do you understand that? Just think about that. I don't care how aggressive or how your dog doesn't like people, how he doesn't like other dogs. But if that dog has impeccable obedience and you make the focus of the training on obedience, this dog will automatically become more predictable. So if you invest in the training, then now you improved your dog's odds of being adopted. Now he is more appealing to somebody that might want your dog, because at least you can say he's very well trained, and you can have the videos to back it up. Right? You could say this dog actually listens. We've invested our time, whether you do the training yourself or whether you get assistance from another trainer, and you make the focus not addressing the aggression, but addressing the obedience. And on a side note, that's my focus when I work with aggressive dogs. I'm not trying to make the dog, I'm not trying to change their brain, their wiring, their software. I'm not trying to do that. Sometimes you can, but there are times that you just can't change the genetic tendencies or the temperament of the individual. So what I'll do is I'll let the client know, let's focus on the obedience. Because if you can have very high reliability and a lot of control into what he does and doesn't do, this dog will automatically become more predictable. It'll be easier to handle because he'll listen to you. He'll be more likely to listen to you. So I would invest the energy, the time, or the resources into getting your aggressive dog trained in obedience. Okay? When you do that, you will make your dog more likely to be adopted by the right person, because now you don't have to just pitch him as, oh, my dog is aggressive, it's bit so many people, we can't handle it. He would be great with somebody who wants a challenge. No, now you can pitch him as he has excellent obedience. And he also, he doesn't like people, he doesn't like dogs, but at least you can make the focal point of your marketing of this dog. The advertising now is this dog has excellent obedience. So the odds of your dog that is aggressive, the odds of that dog being adopted just went up by a lot. So invest the time or the resources into getting the dog trained for obedience, not for the aggression. That's one thing that I would do. And you might even notice that once your dog's obedience is excellent, where you can really, really have a high level of predictability in their behavior and control in their behavior, you might realize that suddenly this dog is easier to live with. And a lot of times the aggressive dog, the owners and the trainers are so caught up in the, why is he aggressive? How do we address that? How do we make him not be aggressive? And don't get me wrong, a lot of times we can address that. A lot of times it's a misunderstanding. A lot of times it's communication, and we can address it. But there are times where this is a genetic trait or it's a temperament trait, meaning it's part of the software. It's part of the individual's temperament. And so you could do months and months and months of training, and the dog will only get a little bit better. In some instances, yes, the dog will make dramatic transformations, but in a lot of instances, the dog, it's just how the dog is. And so now you waste all the time and all the resources into trying to change something that you cannot change, that you can minimally influence, where you could have spent that same amount of money, that same amount of time, the resources, you could have spent all of that into making the dog more obedient. Okay? So you do that, you might realize that your dog does not have to be rehomed. But if he does have to be rehomed, now you can change the description from this dog is aggressive, who wants him, to this dog has a lot of obedience. But he also doesn't like people, doesn't like dogs, whatever the case might be. But you start with, and is truthful, this dog has a lot of obedience. That is the way to go. That is the way to rehome an aggressive dog.